Hi, everybody, and welcome to Minute to Skim It. There are some really awesome books I got to review today. Plus, today I've been doing my final bits for a bunch of exclusives that I'm really happy about. I will be able to tell about someday soon, but just know there's so many good books that are coming out that you guys are in for real treats. Even books this week that I went into going, I don't know if that's going to be a book I even care about. They ended up being good books. I guess it makes sense. If you're going to spend money to make a book, it's probably okay book. Otherwise, it'd be like, yeah, you know what? We're not making this book. No one wants this book. Oh my gosh. Make sure you do some liking, some sharing, ring that bell, all those kinds of things to make sure all your friends know that we've got an awesome show today. Here's my joke shirt. It's an algebra joke shirt. So hope you guys enjoy that. It's going to be April the 1st tomorrow. And it's no joke that there's some great comic books. See you in a second. I'm telling you, you can tell when you get to a certain age when puns are what you use all the time. We used to call them grandpa jokes or dad jokes, but now we are those people. Okay. I have such puns to show you. That's very true. Barlord is here and Corey's here. And I don't know who the other people early in. Nope. I don't see other names. Hi, everybody. Super excited to see you. There are, like I said, a ton of really awesome books. I know that Barlord mentioned some kind of secret, hello lurkers, some secret variant for Comics, the magazine. This is a special variant. They did not tell us about such things. They did not tease them. They did not use it as an incentive for us to buy more magazines. And if you did not tell your local comic shop that you were definitely interested in subscribing to such a thing, you might find that it'd be a short supply of them tomorrow. Just saying. Make sure you communicate with your local comic shop that you liked a thing that you read. Otherwise, they think you didn't like it. Tell them. Information is key. Cul-de-sac will be a hardcover and Kickstarter in the future. Oh my gosh, all these things. I cannot wait to tell you guys about all the stuff I'm working on. But we're here to talk about the stuff that everyone's getting. So let's do some reviewing. Okay, I know that this came out last month, or 3 weeks ago, or whatever it was. But I did not get to read it because this is one of those things where I'm a local comic shop and no one asked me for this. So now we finally got it in as a second print. It's an interesting concept. So if you didn't get to have a copy either, second prints are going to be at your local comic shops. If you told them that you would like to have a second print, they would probably order this. Or maybe they just ordered it because the number one was such a big hit. I don't want to say viral hit. That doesn't make any sense. So this is about a bunch of girls who are all meeting up at a random bar, and not in America, and they are fully aware what they are showing up for is to be kind of like escorts or just to like go and hang out with guys. And there's not supposed to be any ooh la la, most dangerous game with escorts. Yes. But there is a huge twist in this book because they all show up. They make sure that that is exactly what they're signing up for because none of them, except for one of them who is already in a Women of the Night. She goes through a whole bunch of names that she thinks are acceptable for what she does. All the rest of them are just kind of like, all right, well, this is good money and it seems safe or whatever. they've been talked into it some way. But as you guys have probably come to know, hopefully I'll still let you guys have a chance to read this for yourself and to enjoy it. But they're like, all these girls are good looking, and this is the kind of style art that there is in it. Lest you worry, there is not any that I saw any nudity or anything yet, but it is definitely a more mature like mood and tone. And they, like, you probably can guess that it is not straightforward. It's not what they are signed up for. It is there's a big twist that's cool. It's a good premise. So you have a chance to buy this one and then make sure to add it to your pull box if it's something that appeals to you. We're past FOC for number 2, but at least you'll get an idea whether you would like it or not. So we've got a whole bunch of image books recently that have been kind of like hot from the get-go. So kind of look forward a little bit. The next one I can think of that's coming out, there's like one called Hedge Knight or something. There's another number 1 that's coming that a lot of people are talking about. And then far future, start thinking about you know, when you said a word many, many times and you had a copy of it, and then all of a sudden it disappears. Hold on. I've been talking about it today, so I can actually go back and look at it. Hold, please. Okay. It is Terminal. Terminal's the next big, gigantic universe of superheroes by Kirkman. So I don't know. It might not be called Hedge Knight. It's something Knight, though. It's real. You've seen a lot of it being like promoted through the image site. So if you want to go and read about it a little bit and see if it's your jam, it just looks really cool. And like I said, there are a lot of things that are really buzzworthy now, but make sure that you're not getting caught up in the like just the internet says I must have it, so I must have it. Make sure you like read the synopsis about it. Watch Matthias's show that he puts out, like, to let you know what is on FOC. I know that Matthias said he was excited for Headlopper. Headlopper has been a series before, so it's kind of a known quantity for how good it is. So you can go and find copies of Headlopper. It was one of those that when it was coming out was very desired, and it's like real. The art style is real specific. So go look at that. And if that's your jam, add it to your pull. Oh my goodness. So this is a little bit of a spoiler here on the front, but I will tell you that you don't know anything. You don't know anything. So you will probably in the first couple pages when the story kind of opens in Egypt, where it is all about a young man who is a slave, comes to the defense of some old man that's getting beat up by the Egyptian handlers. No, it's not Moses. But it actually has the name that they give him. If you know anything about DC lore, you might be like, I know who this guy is. But if it's been a long time, or if you haven't watched certain movies in a while, you might not know. You might not know. Stop spoiling things, Corey. So this one is, it has like that kind of as an opening. And then there's a ton of stuff in the middle in which you're following our Superman, who finds himself caught unaware at the very end of this book. So this is the beginning of a new story. You can totally jump in here without knowing really anything. Rock the Dwayne Johnson. There is a rock. There is a rock. But now Corey's trying to spoil things, which is fair. So don't miss this. I have a lot of people adding Absolute Superman, Wonder Woman, Martian Manhunter here kind of like recently as they've like kind of like read all of the Batman stuff. And they're like, yeah, I do like this stuff. I want to like, I trust the Absolute line. So this one is not to be missed. First appearance, Bill. Gotta have it. All right. This book might have been helped for me if I had recently read the original run of Wonder Man, which is readily available at your local comic shop. We've got many copies of the big epic run of it. Or if I had watched the show. Can Corey plead the test? Yes, he can, TJ. He can. So this one's kind of interesting because you see up there it says Hollywood's greatest comic magazine. That's like a hint as to what is going or what the setting is for this book, because it follows Simon as he is good friends with, I've forgotten this other gentleman's name. He's like the voice of two cartoon characters that are part of the DC universe. You'll recognize them. But it's them in Hollywood. So it's them, like, you get to see kind of like a back and forth in timeline for like how they got together. Like they started out on the wrong side of the law and met and made friends in prison, which is kind of interesting. I did not know that about the background of this character. If it's truly a background of this character, not made up for this storyline. And the cool thing is that it does show kind of like it is, everyone knows that Wonder Man was part of the Avengers and he's popular for a little while, and the voice actor nobody knows, and then it switch kind of rolls over time. But the important part of this storyline is that there's, you know, something that's catching up with them from their history. And you'll learn a lot. Like if you don't know anything about Wonder Man, you kind of see all of his powers. It's a good, I just like the setting of it. So try this one out. All right, Rivals. I'm sure there are a ton of you playing this game, and or you know someone playing this game. And if you are playing this game, you know that there is a character that's part of the game that everyone loves. Very much beloved. So I'm going to tell you this because he's so much part of this whole storyline. But like Jeff the Landshark is key to the story. So if you love him and you're like looking at this cover and being like, I don't know if I want this Rivals title because neither of these playable characters are my favorite, just know Jeff's part of the thing. So this story is about Namor showing up in Wakanda, ostensibly to talk about doing some trade between their two nations who have always been kind of like put at odds with each other. So what you find out very early, Sun only uses Black Panther or Groot. Do they have good powers? So early on, you see just kind of in between interactions between Namor and Jeff that they have nefarious designs. They're not there for on the up and up. So, I'm so sorry. So it's interesting. The Dora Milaje, am I saying that right? Are also they're kind of hip to the jive that they need to be watching him because no one's really ever trusted Namor. It's probably smart. Even though he's a hottie patati, they are not swayed by him. So this is a true who's up to what, how are they going to do it? You get to see Jeff's powers a lot. And Mr. Steal Your Queen. Oh, that'd be a cool storyline. Not that there wasn't that play yet though, but that would be kind of on brand for Namor, right? TJ says he's going through an old drive, offloaded phone pictures and found pictures of Chuck Norris and Kevin Conroy in West Virginia. Man, we're losing some greats, y'all. It's really, really hard to. I was just thinking about this today. It's like I've been in the industry for 30 years. And for comic book people, there were a ton of people that I grew up reading and enjoying their art that I feel are going way too early. I mean, there's some people that like had long, healthy lives, right? And it's not a big surprise that their time, they've earned their right to rest. But this is like, some of them are young enough that I'm just like, hurts my soul. Hurts my soul a lot. So this is me saying to you, if you go to convention and you have an opportunity to meet people that you admire, and just, even if you don't have a lot of money to go get a bunch of autographs or sketches or whatever, to just make it to the front of the line and to tell them very earnestly what they've meant to you. Because some of these guys kind of operate in a vacuum where they like put stuff out and then they move on to the next project, and they don't see when things drop how people react to it, or maybe not as much as they should, or maybe people like, just like for everyone famous, people feel like they're unapproachable and you're not allowed to talk to them. It's like, I've learned that's completely not true. I mean, I just DM'd with Liam Sharp, which blows my brain. My brain hurts real bad because he's like, oh, so good, so amazing, Conan forever. So just reach out, let people know that you appreciate the hard effort that they put into this stuff. They do. Yeah, like whatever you liked about their thing. It doesn't have to be like, I'm only going to talk about your biggest, strongest work. Sometimes the thing that impacted you is like Jay Lee. If I ever meet him, I'm not going to talk about any of his other stuff. He's done like 1 billion covers for just about every book on the planet. But I like Hellshock. It's a book that probably me and 20 other people love from the 90s. But to me, I would talk to him about Hellshock because every single time I see that book, I pick it up in the back issue bins, wherever it is. I got to have it. It's like my life's goal is to have a page of art from that series. Whatever one, doesn't matter. I'm obsessed with this fine line art. So anyway, definitely do that if you can. If you can't travel to go meet them, just like send them nice, sweet messages or write them a letter if there's a way to like write to them through their publishing or something. Whatever you do, just something. Let them know. Make a post and tag them if you think they're young enough to know what to look for tags. All right. Next. Deadpool, April Fool's Day, Gail Simone having so much fun. Okay, this is Deadpool waking up in the morning, of course, with the lady in his bed because that's the way he is. So enjoy who that is. He's not really sure when he wakes up who it is, but this leans in very heavily to characters that have been around for a really long time in the universe, but they probably haven't thought about, or maybe if you're young enough, you may not have even recognized some of them, but it's a good kind of like point of reference to be like, oh, that does look cool. Like so he's waking up and making his plans for April Fool's Day, because of course everyone's going to the comic book store on tomorrow morning on April Fool's Day. So hopefully your local comic shop doesn't go and fool you with stuff, but he's got his plans for who he's going to prank, right? Because he's kind of a prankster. But everything kind of like starts falling apart right away for his plans. Like there's a dimensional portal or something that opens up and he gets yanked through, and then everything gets to go sideways where like he's no longer in control of any of the stuff that's going on. He's just doing reactionary parts. So there's like things like, do you guys remember the old comic book My Love? Probably not. But if you look at My Love, you'll see what it's like. It was like there was a whole era in comic books in which they had a bunch of romance books, and they were very sweet. And I liked them a lot because they were just kind of like, you know, Susie's broken heart and whatever. There's almost never that it actually works out for either of them, but it was an awesome read when you were thinking about maybe it might work out for them. So one of the characters that interacts with him is a girl from My Love, which is pretty sweet. Which is interesting. She shows up and immediately says, "I'm so sorry I cheated on you. I kissed Bill," or whatever. And he's like, "I don't know who you are, lady." But he leans in. So just be prepared for like watching all the panels to see if you're like can figure out where that character came from. It is kind of a fun who's who. And if you're wondering, it's Gail Simone. Did she somehow fit a Cyclops panel in here? Heck yeah, she did. Heck yeah. When I took your copy of the Hero Alliance original graphic novel from Pied Piper to get Ron Lim to sign, couldn't believe someone had it. Yeah. I know that there are people whose whole goal is to show up at someone's, table with something they've never signed before, where they're like, no one's asked me to sign this before. It's hard because I'm sure everyone has had that moment where like, I found something so rare. Now, I think if I ever went to go see Clayton Crane, I've got a book that he made way back in the 90s where he signed his names with K, like Clayton Crane K, before he changed it to C's, or maybe it was C's and he was trying out the ones with the K's for, so he had a unique name or something. But anyway, I wanted to show up with that book because it was in black and white. All right, y'all ready? Daredevil. This is cool. All right, Stephanie Phillips. I just want to say, you've arrived. You arrived a long time ago, but you arrived. More arriving. People are all going to know your name now, and they should have known it for a long time. But anyway, Daredevil #1 follows Matt as he has stopped doing all the things that you were used to him doing. He's no longer being a lawyer. He is now teaching law, which he also questions, why am I doing this? But he acknowledges in this book that he is starting to slow down a little bit. And so this makes sense for him. Even if he's not slowing down as Daredevil, right? He's still doing all this stuff. He's been through a lot. He's been in a coma. He was presumed dead. He's all this stuff recently, right? So there is a fun little part at the beginning where one of his students pushes back on him about, he's asked all his students to like, put away all your technology. I want you to be engaged with what we're doing. I want you to turn it all off. And then the student makes a reasonable kind of like argument about why that shouldn't happen. And so the way that interaction ends is really kind of cool. It's very smartly written, I will say. But in the interactions of this book, when you get toward the end, there is a new character that shows up. I don't think this character is from anywhere. I think this is new and unique. You may read this and be like, oh, that's clearly so and such. But their abilities kind of like confound all of Wade's normal strengths, right? Because he can hear where people are in a room because of like if there's a drop of water and it kind of like bounces off differently than anything else. Like he's like echolocating with sound pretty amazingly. Run to the food truck, go! Get me a Coke Zero. So there is something very interesting about this new baddie. And also the way that the interaction goes makes you wonder. They say that they're after a specific somebody, but do they know who they're talking to? Right? Because he's Daredevil and he's somebody. And he's just trying to enter his own house. So I would think if I got caught doing that someone would be like, oh, the jinx is up. Anyway, I'm excited for you guys to read this book. So well written. It's a awesome art. Great start. And also let me address the stuff I've heard about the blind bags. Marvel's trying real hard to figure out the blind bag thing, right? But they still have in the blind bags, the regular covers are a possibility. So just know, like you might, before you buy just like your A cover or B cover or C cover, whatever of this, if you're going to get blind bags, you might as well buy the blind bags and open them first and see which ones of those you have. So you don't buy cover A and then open up your blind bag and it just happens to be a cover A. So just know your local comic shop is not doing, it doesn't have anything to do with the assortment of what they're getting. I understand though the original problems that the last blind bags that they had from Marvel, where there was damages that had occurred, those don't exist for these. So the copies you get should be great, but just know that they're still working through. I think the next blind bag set that they're doing, which I can't remember which book it's for, that they finally understand what we're saying as retailers. Like, we don't want any of the open order variants to be present in the bags. Have all of the things in the bags be unique to the bags. You know what I mean? Unique to the bags, not possible to just buy off the shelf. So they've understood that, and they're figuring that out. So, yeah. Because it could still be, yeah. That's what you do. Smart move, Barlord. Very good. All right, this next book is the one where I really, truly expected to read the book and be like, more Captain Marvel. But no, this is really good, y'all. So this is Carol and Tony. So it doesn't have any pictures of Tony on the front, so you don't know that Tony's in the book, but Tony's in the book. So Carol is dealing with the fact that she had an interaction with Rogue, which robbed her of her memory. But that also, as she's kind of like going through time, she is having flashes of things that she is not 100% certain whether they're, some of the things are clearly from her past, right? They're her as a girl. In which that part of the mystery is like she has a fight with her dad, and the dad tells her something. So you get to hear what that is, because it's, for a little while you're like really uncomfortable because you're not sure what the thing is that happened in this confrontation with her dad. But also, as part of this, she says that she knows that she's also able to see into the future. So some of the stuff she's seeing, she's not sure if it's just memory stuff that's coming back about stuff that's already happened, or if it's stuff that's going to happen. So that's like the really kind of interesting part of the storyline, is like Tony's with her and they're trying to figure all that stuff out. Plus there's stuff that's happening to them. So this is a really great story, and it feels like it just comes fresh out of whatever happened last in the storyline for, this would be Avengers, right? Probably, or I'm trying to figure out what story arc it might have come out of that was going on before this for Marvel. But I will just say, as long as they give you everything you need in this. You don't need to have known what happened to have Rogue touch her and take away her memory. But just to know that that happens, then you know what you need to know to enjoy the book. So if you haven't read Captain Marvel in a long time, this feels like a really good jump on spot. It doesn't feel like, sometimes when you jump into places, you're just like, I don't know enough about this character to care at all. But you immediately care because of the writing in this book. So you might try this out. Oh man, Alien King Killer. This is a really cool start. Of course, I've liked every single Alien book, and I'm sure just by the numbers that we've seen from people that are buying, everyone else also likes it. So this storyline takes place on, some planet that actually has xenomorphs, and some of them are kind of a little different, like xenomorphs take on a little bit of the form of whatever they're impregnating or whatever. So there's some different little bit forms here, but it's mostly a storyline about a grandson and grandpa who have gone out into kind of the wasteland where the xenomorphs are out and about, and they've been kind of sent out to go and just like find stuff. So this obviously takes place where people probably have kind of like made themselves like little walled-in cities to protect themselves, and in order to get anything new, they have to go and scavenge it from destroyed parts of the planet where obviously the aliens have taken over. So there is somebody that shows up which very clearly has like not super abilities, that's wrong how to say it. They have a cool like electrical sword that they can cut up aliens with. They have something about them that makes them so that it doesn't look like the acid like affects them. And the king killer here is that there is the boy says when he's out looking for stuff that they're being forced to go do it by the Red King. So who's the Red King? Who's this other guy? Is this suspected to be a short 5-book series? But probably. That's the way it reads. I don't know how they can make it really long. And Jedi Knights? Nope, no Jedi Knights. Not that kind of light sword. Like an actual, looks like a metal sword, but it has like a little, it just looks like it has like some light up component to it that's not the entire sword. When you see it, understand. I'm trying not to spoil what the actual thing is about this guy who shows up. It's not anything you're thinking. I just could tell you that right now. Whatever you think is going on, that's not it. But it is a really cool twist. So this one I've liked. I like this one just as much as when I read the first Predator versus Black Panther, when I figured out what the twist or the hit was for why the Predator was doing what he was doing, and what his, like he had the vibranium leg because his brothers were all perfect and he had to work extra hard to try to even be part of a society and not get outcast or killed or whatever happens to them. Does Ash show up? No. No, but that'd be cool. I was so crushed. This is like an aside. I was so crushed in the movies when they did not continue on with, if you guys have probably noticed, in the movies themselves, for the names of the artificial person, they were like using A, B, and C, whatever. They were like, all of them ended up being in a row. You had Ash, Bishop, Call, David. And then when you get to the next one, he doesn't follow. He's not an E. And I was like, no, you're wrong. Go back to the drawing board. So anyway, I guess it's because we're jumping around in time for Aliens movies. But anyway, that's just me being a fuss. Royals. Here is a cool image book that I don't know if it's on everyone's radars, but it should be because it's a heck of a lot of fun. So the two guys there on the top are brothers, and they are Korean, I believe. And so they're in Korea. They are there for some kind of poker tournament. When you meet them, it's clear that like the blonde one is probably a lot more responsible than the dark-haired guy. And the dark-haired guy kind of seems like he's fine with whatever happens. He's been spending money freely. He is hitting on girls and whatever. So here's like, the other guy seems really frustrated at him. And they're there to be part of this poker tournament, which there's a big twist about why the dark-haired guy who plays in the tournament has won like the previous 5. There's a thing that they're doing, which is like unlike anything else I've ever seen for how somebody might cheat at cards. The problem is that the guy with the eyebrow cut. I've always wondered when you see characters like that on film or whatever. It's like in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Diaz has that. And then Tom Holland has got like one of his eyebrows that goes straight up. I always think of, is this like a shtick that they're just using to like help you remember them? Or is that actually happened? Yeah, 9-9! My husband and I are rewatching it again for the 29 millionth time. So anyway. So this one's got one of the guys that's in the poker tournament is the very, very, very bad man. So this one like leaves you on a big cliffhanger. It's really well told. I am not myself a person that is drawn to like watching poker things or playing poker or any of those kinds of things, but I love this thing. This is good stuff, y'all. If it wasn't on your radar, it should get on your radar now. Yeah, Barlord. That's exactly it. All right. So, full disclosure, I'm good friends with Joe Pruitt. And there's a I mean, like, there's a reason why I'm going to recommend this one, and it's not because we're friends. I'll just say it's not because of that. So Kilroy is a character that Joe created a long time ago. He's been around since, let me see if I can tell you what year the original stuff happened. So the twist for this guy is so cool. He originally showed up in only like little stories within Desperado. They had a book called, what was their little thing called? Shoot. It's not going to tell me. It was like one of those like magazines, books that had like multiple different stories that were in them. So it happened a little bit at a time. It's not going to tell me when it originally happened. Oh, and Negative Burn. Sorry, Negative Burn is where it's from. Now I got it. Which I have Negative Burns. That wasn't his first appearance. His first appearance was in something else. But okay, so this is not a retelling of anything about Kilroy, which made me want to go, and that's why I pulled those books. So I was like, I want to go back and read the original Kilroy stuff now because it seems very like Crow-esque. It's all black and white. The art is, I know it's, I'm not going to like try to mess up that sweet person's name up there because I'm going to be horrible at it. But Kilroy and Moose in newspaper comic strips, maybe, but I know it was also a Negative Burn, which Negative Burn was like one of those. It's like people had serialized stories that were presented in there, but you got to have like one part of it for every issue. And the issues, I think, were monthly. So you had to like kind of wait. It would leave you on a cliffhanger all the time. And I could be wrong about that, but that's the way I remember Negative Burn being. And Negative Burn is like they've started Negative Burn back up. So, and I think that's how they're doing it again. So it'll seem familiar. So this guy, Kilroy, is something happened in his past in which he has been cursed to always show up after people get killed. So that he witnesses the aftermath, but can never do anything about it. Ever. So that's the thing that he has been enduring. And when you meet him in this book, this here, you see him show up, same thing happening, but like this thing, Kilroy was here. Someone has written that on the wall in the blood of these victims and is still there whenever Kilroy shows up. And Kilroy's like, what you doing, man? It doesn't make any sense to write this in their blood. I didn't have anything to do with it. If you're trying to frame me and you're still here, it's clear that something else is up. So you find out something that's really surprising to me, because I haven't read the original series, about who might be messing around with him. And it's a very cool kind of, I say spiritual, because they're characters that, you know, you might have seen in your Bible. But it's very, very dark. And something big changes about the way Kilroy is operating. So I will say this is my favorite comic book of the week, which is a high mark because there's so many good books this week. But yeah, I'll read the rest of this series for sure. And I'm going to take home one of these full books of all the different strips to put together so I can figure him out from what happened before. What was the thing that he did that was so wrong that got him cursed in this way? All right, there are a big line of books that G.I. Joe is putting out that are silent missions, as it says up there with 3 S's. So these are all like, there's a very famous G.I. Joe, I think it's 21, where it is a silent issue, but it makes sense because I think it's Storm Shadow, who is a ninja. And so there should not be any sound because they're silent, right? But these are going to be lots of different stories from different characters. This one focuses in on the Baroness. Written by Joel Jones. Declan Shalvey's got art. And this one is really, really cool because there's also, you kind of see, there's also Destro, just so if you like Destro, he's in here also. It's clear from the very beginnings of the storyline that she is being asked by Cobra Commander to go do a killing. Or at least it's like one of those things you're like, when I think I see what I'm seeing here, right? But he also, I don't know if he doesn't trust her to do the job or what, but he also sends somebody else to go do the same job. And of course, it puts them at odds with each other. So this is really beautiful art, despite the fact there's murdery stuff going on. And the Baroness is so cool. And I like for her face, often in the book, it looks almost like pasteled or something. Real soft. I like it. Also think about adding all the silent stuff to your pulls if you are like this kind of like cool stuff. Ghost Machine official guidebook starts this week. So it's just like, do you remember the old like DC or Marvel indexes where they would be, they would release them in bits, and like the index would say A to C, which includes this character to this character, and they would have a page or two with a picture of that character and tell you kind of like where their first appearance was and a whole bunch about them, which became really hard as the years went on. So the ones you get from the 80s/90s, I think, were when most of those were made, are much easier because there wasn't like super long history for them. It was much easier to kind of tell you about them. This is the perfect place to jump into Ghost Machine because it not only gives you it for some characters, but also like big organizations that you meet in the series. And yes, it does have Barney, which is the dog from Geiger in there, and tells you all about that. But the cool thing in here is we're early on, like the letters, right? And a lot of people don't know that for Ghost Machine, the universe that's all tied here, that the Blizzard graphic novel is part of it. You can see Blizzard there. He's farthest on the right. So at the very front there. So this is, I didn't get to read every bit of this, but there are a ton of characters, especially for the Geiger end of the universe, that appear really early on. So if you remember that Ghost Machine used to be Mad Ghost. So for Geiger, there was a series of 6 issues that are the beginning of that story arc. And then when it became a Ghost Machine, they did another 1 through 6 for Geiger that is not the same stuff at all. So you got to read 1 through 6 and then 1 through 6 and then move on. Luckily, the graphic novel has all of it together. So you're not confused like when you're trying to collect the individual books. But this is so useful, especially, I mean, you can kind of see in the future, I'm guessing, that you guys are smart enough to know that a lot of this stuff's going to get developed for the screen. We already have announcements for Redcoat. So if you want to know things about, like, let's say, Benedict Arnold or Albert Einstein or Kilroy's a one-shot, that can't be true. I guess it is. Dadgummit, it's a one-shot. Well, I'm gonna start telling them as much as I can that I want more. Give me more. Graphic novel, yes, graphic novel for all of the Ghost Machine stuff. For like for the Geiger, the first one you get has both of those runs in it. Rook's the one everyone's waiting for, of course, but you can get the first Rook graphic novel, and this one actually it addresses some of the Rook stuff because it has, what's the thing that they actually tell us about? Oh, Ashley Arden, who is the glowing woman, is in this first volume, so don't miss it. There's a lot of stuff I didn't catch on to when reading the comic books that is actually fleshed out here so you can understand some background stuff. Even I feel like there's one of the characters in here that it mentions their first appearance, and I don't think it's happened yet. So this might be a little bit spoilery. All right, this is one probably not on your radar, but just buy it for the sheer hilariousness of it. So the way they premise this is like the lead in or the editorial for this book is by Chip Zdarsky. So, you know, it's awesome. Basically, it is him saying that we approached Mary Javins, who's the head of DC, and said, hey, we are dumb and we wanted to write a bunch of crazy stuff. And she said yes, so hoo-hoo on her. But this is cool. So, like, some of these shticks are one page. Some of them are multiple pages. It's by a bunch of different creators. There's some, like, Scott Snyder making fun of his own Absolute Universe in this book. There's a funny page. It's a single page spread piece that has all of the different kinds of kryptonite and what they might do to Superman, but I think it's all wrong. I don't think and they made up some. And so it's like every page is so funny. It really is a joy to read it. It's definitely worth the $8. Didn't Zdarsky say this is written by people that needed another paycheck? Sure. But totally, I will tell you, I didn't get to read every single page, but what I read made me just like want to own it because it's really fun. Super, super fun. All right, Bizarro, also really fun. This is Kevin Smith saying, I'm going to tell a history of Bizarro that you guys don't know. So, it is all done in this really crazy cool Nick Pitara art. So if you don't like Nick Pitara art, you're going to have to get used to it because that's what the whole art is. So I'm going to make sure that I don't mess up because I had a couple of Superman things. All right. So this is mostly about Jimmy showing up and explaining to Perry that he feels like he deserves a job. So this is during a time when he doesn't have a job at the planet yet. In which he is, there's a whole long, like, this is what I'm doing. This is why I feel like I deserve it. Like, why can't I have a job here? And there's a ton of other stuff that is also going on. Superman had just stopped this giant, like, mechanical soldier. Has it been like 10 years since the last Bizarro mini? Probably. And so they're like waiting around, like made it all the way to the planet, and is like, he was a soldier with like a big sword, and so he's like cut the building at the very top. So they're just like standing in Perry's office, which has been cut a little bit with his sword, and discussing the whole like opportunity of maybe you should have a job. Oh yeah, I know. Axe wielder John. That like art disturbed me. That like the no-nos. So I want you guys to read this book and tell me if you think there's a whole big thing that happens in which we end up to where Bizarro is. Pay attention to the opening pages because that pays off later on. But there is a panel in this book where Jimmy's out just getting coffee because that's all he's been allowed to do, right? That's his job for them right now. So it actually has him going to a donut place and asking for a cruller. But, and where's the panel? Sorry. Well, where'd it go? Hold, please. There's a panel that made me think it was making fun of two of my friends, which is kind of funny. I hope it is, and I hope that they recognize it for what it is. But I guess it could be just anything. Here it is. So there is Jimmy is standing there and saying a name, which if you, it's hyphenated or whatever. But if you read it out, you might be able to figure out that is the name of someone who owns another company who is famous for early on going to conventions and handing out donuts. So if you can figure out what that is and see this panel, they don't number the pages anymore. It might be referencing to that. But anyway, if it isn't, it's just me reading into it, but it doesn't make any sense otherwise, because why did they name that? Why does he say that in that panel if that's not what's going on? Anyway. Way to sneak it in there, man. Sounds like Jimmy's doing better than the Superman Spider-Man story. Maybe. Perhaps. Poor Jimmy. Okay. World's Finest. This is issue number 50. It's an oversized book, and it has 2 stories in it. So I have to open it up to remember the 2 stories. That's why I had to keep on opening up everything. I'm sorry, y'all. So the first story is Zatanna needing to take Superman and Batman and throw them into kind of a dream world, because there is what's the guy's name? There's a character that is like taken control over. He's escaped into the Dream Stone. So global insomnia has happened. So they're trying to fix that. So Zatanna throws them into this dream world, and of course, everything that they then experience is like the first thing that shows up on the early pages is like they are writing in what looks like the Batmobile, but it's got the Superman symbol all over it. So it's like clearly Batman reads that as Clark is always wanted, like been jealous of the Batmobile. And so there's a bunch of stuff that happens that does this, like if you were going to like be dreaming of what might happen as those characters, then you'd be like, okay, well, this makes complete sense. This is lucid dreams. And then they find the guy that they're looking for in the dream world. And that resolves. And then there's another story in here. Hold on, let me see. See if I can see where it starts. All right. Oh, I remember this about now. Okay, so there is a bet that is made between 2 of the, this is like the younger components of the Batman and Superman universe, that they bet 2 other ones that they can go and detect and find an ancient artifact. And so that it is a fair thing, so that one of them doesn't say, let's go and try to find this thing that they might have inside information. They just like poof show up and ask Batman, what's the hardest artifact ever to find? And he just mentions it, and then they go and try to find it. And the way that they both use to go and find this thing, and what happens when they do, because they bring it back to the Batcave, and that does not work out well. That is a great storyline too. So 2 good back-to-back storylines for that book. And it turns out that Batman here is having a Vandal Savage problem. And I did not know this, but it looks like Ivy is the mayor of the city. Did we know this? I don't remember this. And that Vandal is the commissioner. I didn't know that either. That sounds crazy. So this is Vandal showing up and telling Ivy, you know what would make the most sense is we should not have Batman out there as, like doing the police's job and making the police look bad. Doesn't that look bad on you? Because aren't you the mayor and supposed to be doing stuff? Doesn't that make me look bad? I'm the police commissioner. And so, he's up to no good. At least he didn't buy Bruce's house again. I don't know. He might live there. He might live in that. He does. Just like goes straight. All that stuff down there is like makes sense. So it's all about. They actually present this as kind of like old school guys trying to figure out their way through this. So Alan Scott back there, who is the Golden Age Green Lantern, and Batman are having like coffee and discussing this problem. And Batman's in Batman gear, and Alan Scott is not in Green Lantern outfit. So how they decide who's going to pay for dinner is hilarious. So anyway, it doesn't have the really gorgeous like the double open middle page that number 7 had, but this one is just as great for storyline. So don't miss out on any of this story, because I have a feeling that the Vandal Savage thing is going to be like, I did not know he had so many powers. I didn't know he's like immortal and been around since the beginning of time or whatever. I didn't know any of that stuff, or at least it does now. Sometimes I wonder, is this like an absolute kind of thing where they're rewriting stuff, or is this the way it's always been? It doesn't matter. It's great storytelling. And last but not least, now I wonder, did I lose my book? Because I don't think it's in this pile. No. I might have accidentally left it over there. Hopefully they will hold on to it for me. Anyway, this one is Untold Stories of Magic the Gathering. This is Jace, who has a very awesome set of powers, being kind of like led around by, if I had my book, I could tell you, I'm going to say Tesseract, but that's not his name. It is another really awesome, strong character in Magic. He's basically using him to go and steal stuff. He actually is there, and he's saying, well, give us disguises so that no one can see who we are. But I did not know anything about these characters from Magic the Gathering, and I did really enjoy the storyline. I'm sorry I can't remember the names. It was the first book I read, and of course the first book that I've forgotten, so my bad. But if you're a Magic the Gathering person, this is a great book. Vandal's like an immortal from Highlander minus the decapitation. Yeah. All right, everybody. This is also a day I did mention it, that it is Comics the Magazine number 2 is out this week. So definitely add it to your pull boxes if you actually want to see it. They did sneak in a 1 in 25 for like it's just magically put in the middle of bundles if your comic book store grabbed it up by the bundle. And you've got really cool blind bags for Daredevil number 1 that you might hunt down. And there's a ton of other really good books. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Jay, for being behind the scenes. Henri, no Henri, but Kyle. Yeah, Kyle's going to do something today, right?
Yes, I think Kyle has something planned.
Awesome sauce. And if you missed it, you should go and watch. Yesterday, we made a giant drop for our very first exclusive variant, and we think it's adorable and very, very wonderful. So right now in the EXP store, we have a small little drop that we've made. This is not the entirety of what's going to be available. The rest of them are going to be available on the shows themselves when we get those. But this is your opportunity to get the book locked in. And then very soon afterwards, you're going to end up with an opportunity to name the pets, which we'll talk about that in future shows, so you guys know.
You know, we can do this an easier way, but Jay didn't put the video in, so I just did. So do you want to do this the easier way?
The drop is good.
It's official. Everything is live. In the comments is the link where you can go and get in on our exclusive drop. So a very extremely small, so small that I could actually do the math number of our print run is available right now on the explive.com. We have all 4 of the covers, which we can show.
So cute.
Everything but the video I spent hours making.
Now that we know it exists, we can plop it in there all the time because this is a very good one. All right, everybody. I'm going to be on right after this. I just have to make the room and get it all going. So give me a couple minutes for that to happen. I will be offering all of these books, but please do support your local comic shop. I much prefer that. But if you don't have one, I'm here for you. I'll see you guys in just a minute.